Okay, so I did what you did, Amanda. Can you see the board?
Uh-huh.
So I took the equation of the curve and I thought, okay, no big deal. We're supposed to plug in the x-coordinate of 3 and figure out what the y-coordinate is. When I got to here, I'm like, oh, that's just not looking good at all, because I don't really know how to factor that mess. And so I stopped. Is that kind of where you got?
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I remembered something else, which is the slope's supposed to be 0. So I took the formula for slope, and I said this has got to equal 0. Well, the only way for a fraction to equal 0 is if the top of the fraction is 0. So that's how I knew that 3y minus 2x had to be 0. So that allowed me to easily figure out that when x is 3, y has to be 2.
Where did you get the 3y minus 2x?
So the formula here, dy dx equals this.
Oh, that's
from the
yeah.
part
Okay.
part A. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No worries.
I forgot that was part A.
It's okay. One thing, you mentioned this the other day when we were talking, that, and one thing, if you can, it would be best as you're doing the practice test to actually print out the test and then put in front of you all the pages that are with the same FRQ. So like whatever is part 4, I would have on your desk, like 4A, B, C, and D all laid out, because that's more like, I don't really know how it's going to work online, but in the past when they'd give you a paper copy, you would see all 4 sections simultaneously. So it was a lot easier for your brain to see that you're supposed to be using one part or another. So.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's my formula for the slope. Since the slope has to equal 0, the only way for a fraction to equal 0 is if the top equals 0. So that's why I wrote 3y minus 2x must be 0.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
So that's how I figured out that y had to be 2. You get to there?
Yes.
That would have earned you 2 points, getting that far. The last thing is something that I even forget often. And I did this on another page here because somebody else asked this question and I had to send it to them via email. It's possible for a curve to, so we have this formula for the points on the curve. We have this formula for all the slopes on the curve. It's possible for a curve to have a slope formula that says, oh, the slope is 0 at 3, 2. And then this point isn't even on the curve. So the last point they require you, the last thing they require you to do is show that you have found that this is not only the xy coordinate that will cause the slope to be 0, it's also the xy coordinate that is actually a point on the curve. Did that make any sense?
So you just have to prove that that point really is like on the curve where you're finding the tangent line?
Right. So the way so I've already proved that at x equal 3, y equal 2, the slope will be 0. Like I've done that. Now what I have to show is, so I'm getting a beep from something. It's coming from you, Amanda.
Yeah, but
You're okay. No worries. We're good now. So I have to show that x equal 3, y equal 2 is a point on this curve. I do that by plugging the x equal 3 and the y equal 2 into the curve equation. And as long as it works, then I know that that is also a point on the curve. And that's what I've tried to write out here in purple.
oh, so you just,
Well, I'm not finished yet. I'm just explaining what I'm going to do. Now, I wouldn't write this on my test. I was just trying to explain to a student. what I would do, so here's what I would have done, backing up a little bit. I first got to figure out, what's the XY coordinate where the slope will be 0. So I did that here in blue. That's going to earn me 2 points. What I would do next is simply show the grader this work in green to prove that, yes, indeed, if you plug in x equal 3 and y equal 2 into the curve equation, the equation is still true. That tells me that the point is actually on the curve.
Okay.
Milan or Ashley, questions about any of that? It's best just, if anything feels uncertain, just to talk as much as you'd like, so.
I don't think so.
Okay. Yeah, if you don't have anything, it's fine. I just want to make sure you feel comfortable talking if you have a question, so. Ashley? Okay, good. Ashley's good too, so. Anything else, Amanda, on that one?
I think that's it.
Okay. Milan, you were next to join all this. Do you have a specific question you want to talk about?